Hello. Hi, can everyone hear me? All right, thanks. Yay! Hi, thank you guys for coming. We're going to get started here. I am not presenting right now, but I just wanted to kind of give a little intro. I think there's a little confusion around some of the stuff with the CEUs. So I'm Laura. I'm on the board of Harvest Full of Hope, and I coordinate the CEUs here. So if anyone has any questions about your CEUs, come and find me. Just real quick, there's kind of two levels of CEUs here. So for LPCs, for social workers, you will get an email. So that's when you sign in out front there. If you didn't, don't worry about it. Just go sign in. And we will send you an email with a link and all the information about how to get your CEUs through NASW. So you guys know that it's $25 if you're not a member, 15 if you are. That's the columns like NASW, yes or no. This conference is actually 4 CEUs. I think some of the literature said 3 CEUs. We were able to get the Lunch and Learn considered as a CEU credit this year, so it's the same amount of time, but more credits for us. And the last one of the presentations will count as your 1 hour towards suicide prevention. It's really important that you come to that one because it's my presentation, so hopefully I'll still see you all there. And then for CPSs, everyone at the end of the conference will get a certificate of attendance, and you get it on your way out. So that will count for your credits if you're a CPS. Just a little heads up, the next part of the CEU series is downstairs. So after here, you want to go downstairs, and then it's Lunch and Learn on the 3rd floor, which counts, and then back here for the last presentation up here. But I'll be at all of them, so just I can tell you where to go. But to not take up more of your time, I'd like to introduce Michael Judkins. He's going to do our presentation here. We're so fortunate to be able to have him with us. He's a clinical supervisor at Mars. He's also an award-winning director and producer and a poet. So please welcome Michael.
I think that's... Can you hear me? Thank you, Laura, for that beautiful introduction. Good morning. How are we today? Good. So before I get into the material, I like an introduction. I like to always set the tone of the room when I'm presenting. That's just me. You'll get to know me in the next hour. I'm very animated at times. Okay? So if we can, right? I just want you to stretch your shoulders back a little bit. Get relaxed, right? Get relaxed. Stretch your shoulders back. Right? Get relaxed. So if you can, I want you to close your eyes. I want you to envision something that you love with the letter A. Envision something that you love with the letter A, right? Keep those eyes closed. Take you to that happy place, whatever letters A, right? Now bump that up. Let's escalate that a little bit higher. Tell me something that you really love that starts with the letter C. Think about that. Envision it. Bring yourself there to that place. Now we're going to escalate it one more time. Envision your perfect spot, whether it's a person, an area, a particular thing, with the letter E. Find something that moves you with that letter E. Now take all those visions that you have, put them in a happy place for yourself. Now open your eyes. Good. How do you feel? Are we a little relaxed in the room? You feel the energy shift a little bit, right? Yay! Now wake up. Good morning! Told you I'm very animated. So, some water. My name is Michael Judkins. Currently, right now, I'm a clinical supervisor at Mars Mid-Atlantic Rehabilitation Services. In addition to that, I am a creative. One of the things that is my safe spaces, right, is that I create art. That is one of my safe spaces as a clinician. I've been in the field of mental health and substance abuse for about 23 years. Yeah, this year made 23 years. I worked in all capacities in the field. I worked in inpatient. I worked in outpatient. I worked on ACT teams. I worked in residential. I worked on the forensic side in alternative to incarceration, criminal court in Brooklyn. I worked as a behavioral specialist, doing numerous FBAs and everything like that sense, if you're ever familiar with that level of service. And now I am at a point in my career to where I want to put all that together and educate and pass on some knowledge that I might acquired over the years, right? So how to access and manage resources to maintain a productive life using strength-based approaches within a connected community. What does that mean, right? When you look at that, what does that mean? To me, that means that we, right now in 2024, we have much more resources to us and ways to connect to resources that sometimes it become overwhelming. And sometimes we're not placing people in the right resources for the things that they need because we don't know, or we may not have the information provided to us to know. And when we think about strength, we think about power, right? We think about your tenacity, right? But the thing about strength-based approach, to me, at least as a clinician, when you look at it, you want to find all those good things, but you also want to find something that connects the individual to those things. For that way, they can invest into their own client-led approaches to move forward in their life. What do you see in this picture? Anybody? Shout it out. Miles? Smiles? What else? What else you see? Give it a try. Diversity. Say it again. Community. What else? What else do you see? Not that difficult, right? But all those things is accurate. But you pointed out the one thing that, to me, in that picture, brings everybody together, regardless of race, color, or ethnicity. It's the smile, right? They are all connected through the smile. And sometimes we, myself included, I'll put I, right? We have to remember these things, that when we're working with individuals, they do have commonalities. It's not just the problem they're coming to us with. They're coming with us to identify their strengths, their weaknesses, right? They want you to help them figure their life out. That's a lot of work and pressure. So why not be community? That's another one, with a smile and work together, right? If you think about that concept in its entirety. Our learning objectives for today, for this hour. So I'm a talker, if you haven't noticed. I'm trying to really bring it down because they told me I only had an hour because I would keep talking and we'll be here all afternoon. So the learning objectives, this session is designed to be practical and hands-on. We will focus on identity exploring and practicing strength-based approaches to learn how to access and maintain community resources. So we're going to do a group discussion. I originally wanted to do a hands-on group experiment, but they was like, that might be too much, Mike. So I said, all right, so we'll do it in a group discussion format. But when we go through the steps of the goal setting, strength assessment, environmental resources, we'll break them down and learn it together and kind of use an example to kind of look at what that means in strength-based approaches. Anybody feel like reading this morning? Oh, come on, guys. We're in the room of this is supposed to be an entertaining day. Go ahead, sir.
Understanding the problem. The most important thing we learned was that psychology was half baked. We baked the part about mental illness, about repair damage. The other side unbaked, the side of strength. The side is what we're good at.
So I love this quote by Marcus Buckingham. I follow him. He's an author. He works in the field. He's a businessman. He does a lot of great work. And he's very powerful in understanding what strength-based is, right, from a non-clinical perspective, and how we can actually use that on the clinical side to say, hey, how is this helping me help my clients, right? How is this helping me be the best clinician I can be for my clients through those strength-based approaches? Thank you, sir. Oops. There we go. Sorry about that, guys. So how do we define strength-based approaches when working with individuals? Dignity, right? How many ever practice strength, let's start there. How many ever use strength-based approaches in their clinical work? By show of hands. Wow, raise those hands. Be proud of yourselves. Right, there we go. There we go. That's the strength, right? You give strength in counseling to your clients, so you have to understand what's your strength in doing that, right? So when we look at dignity, what does that mean to you? Anybody? What does it mean to you? What's the definition to you? Perfect. Everybody agree? How many can honestly say in their line of work, they did not let a client make their own choices? Who's brave enough to admit that? At times, definitely, especially early on in my career, very early on in my career, right? Because your goals is what matters, right? The client got to do this, the client got to do that. It's your goals, right? And then you get into the headspace of understanding different theories and different practicums to where you understand that, that approach is not working. I got to understand where the client is at. I got to have them understand that there's dignity in what they're doing, right? So a lot of times it's not it's I, the client, not we sometimes. If you look up, one of the things I like about where our field is going now is collaborative documentation. Another strength-based approach, if you look at that, to where, and the client is actually involved with the writing aspect of a note, right? Seeing what you're writing it together during that session, right? Having them more invested into their care and treatment, right? Always a good thing. What about capacities? What do we think about that? What do you think? First thing that comes to your mind. Anybody? Support, right? When you look at that word capacity, I don't know, this room may be like what, 500, maybe 150, right? You think that max. But when you look at it on a strength-based approach, that capacity is like, hey, how much you can realistically handle, right? How much can you realistically handle? And again, that's us taking we out of it and not putting on the goals that we want them to do. And that can be easily done, right? In a sense of, oh, well, you need to do med management. You need to go to MAT 3 times a week. Okay, standard stuff. But I need you to go get your GED and go to tutoring. Well, I don't want my GED. Well, you need to get it because you need education. How many seen those conversations before in their lines of work? Right? Not strength-based. It's, again, we, right? And it's not I. So what about the rights? Falls right into the rights and uniqueness. What are the rights? Clients have rights. And we as clinicians and just we as advocates have to understand that everybody has the right. When I got into the field of mental health, it was at a period of time to where I was, 21, and I was working at Old Navy in New York, and I got the call for my first job in the field. And at the same time, I was just about to get promoted as a supervisor in Old Navy. And I thought about it for a minute. I said, clothes, discounts, friends, easy work, not too hard, dealing with people every day, tons of paperwork, might hate my paycheck. I like that big laugh, right? But I chose to take that leap of faith and go into the field because that was my act of service, right? But when I got into it, I had to learn a lot of different stuff. And one of the biggest things I learned was the uniqueness of clients. Understanding that every client that you come in contact with is unique. Although some of them may share some similar similarities or similar stories, similar backgrounds, but they're all unique. They all come with you with unique needs. And they all come with you with unique personalities, right? So these are the ways we navigate trying to understand our clients from where they're at today, and then understanding what we have to promote their readiness to live a productive life, right? Because that's what they're coming to you for. They're coming for you for the answers. And sometimes we don't have the answers. You got to be like, hey, what is the answer that you want? And then let me help you build around that. Commonalities, what does that mean? Similar, community, right? Having a place to go, feeling like they can get it together in the sense of, well, we have fears about being sober, if we're looking at it from a substance use end. We have fears of being stable, if you're looking at it on a mental health end, right? I don't want to change my behaviors because I like the lifestyle. So if a client came to me with that and I'm using a strength-based approach, okay, I'm gonna start with you from right there. What about the lifestyle that you like? And what about that lifestyle can we transfer into your day life now? Let's look at that. Now I got the client's attention, their interests, and we're breaking it down to where it's putting them in the lead to say, hey, you are controlling this ship, right? I'm just a passenger. You're controlling it. And when you need help, I'm here to help you, right? If you're thinking about it in that aspect. Excuse me. Autonomy, right? The freedom to choose. And a client-led approach. When you're thinking about a strength-based approach. I'm going to read this brief sentence about the definition of strength-based approach. It says, strength-based approach in social work is rooted in the idea that each client is an agent of change in their own life. And in that sentence alone, for me at least, it lets me believe that I don't have to make all the choices. I don't have to select all the resources. I don't have to dig deeper than what the client wants me to dig. Right? When the client comes to you, come to your office, or come to you in the community, wherever you're stationed at, whether you're a certified peer specialist, direct care staff, a clinician, administrator, whatever your role is in your agencies, clients come to you, they want to come to you for help and resources. And it's okay to say, well, you take the charge. You take the wheel, so to say. What do you want? What do you need? There are 6 strength-based approaches in social work that is commonly used in the practice of, in the theory of social work or strength-based. I'm not going to get too much in the whole theory thing, then we'll really be here for a very long time. But when we look at it, 1, client-centered or goal orientation, right? You want to focus what that client's coming to you for. It's client-led. Come to your office. I had a gentleman, real story, Monday morning, yesterday, client comes to my office. I'm actually driving into the office. I get a call from one of my staff, Hey, such and such is here, just popped in, saying he wants to go to rehab. Okay, tell him I'm on my way. I'll help him out as soon as I get there. Got there, talked with him, cool, made the calls, got set up, stayed with me all day till 4:30. Brought him lunch, stayed, didn't want to move. So I asked him in this client-centered approach, hey, what made you decide to come to Allentown office to go to rehab? He said, Mike, I walked from Bethlehem to 1255 South Cedar Crest Boulevard. That's why I set the address for you. I can get the sense. Okay? And I said, why you did that? You could have went to the Bethlehem office where you normally do. I knew if I came here, Mike, you would put me in rehab. That's exactly what he said. So I said, all right, you want to go? He's like, yes. All right? And that was my Monday, right? Making sure he got somewhere safe. I didn't ask him no questions. I didn't go into the whole, oh, well, we tried this last month. No, right? It's client-centered. What do you want to do? You ready to go? Yes. All right. Let me make some calls. Get a bed set up. You hungry? Yes. I need to eat. Okay. I'm not going to ask you to bench. We're not going to go there. You made a choice to go, and I'm going to support that choice. And that's all I was worried about. I stood right there until that van came at 4:30. This all transpired at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning. He stood with me all day in my office. And I stood there and waited for that van transport to come, made sure they called my cell phone, not my office phone. In case I stepped out the office, I get the call. And I stood there and put him on the van and waited for him to go. Gave him my telephone. He has my cell phone. He's like, I'll keep you updated. Okay. Again, that was client-centered. It was goal orientation, right? Again, I told him I wouldn't do that. I am not walking to Bethlehem to Allentown. But I understood his mission. And who are me to question that mission, right? You came for me. You came specifically all that way just to see me. And I told him, I said, what if I didn't come to work today? They would have called you. I'm like, I'm off. I would have had somebody call you Mike. But that's that client-centered. I met him where he was at. I didn't ask no questions. I didn't judge him. I didn't put no biases on him. I didn't give him my spiel. Oh, blah, blah, blah. No. What do you want to do? All right. I got the perfect place. Let me make a call. Boom. I got a bed. Boom. Let's do this. Can I go to East and pick up my clothes? Nope. You're here. Let's stay focused in this moment. And he got to rehab. Again, client-centered, right? If you look at that approach, that's a good example of looking at a strength-based approach where I'm not looking at anything that client did over the weekend or what made him decide to go to rehab now. I'm just looking at the fact that he told me he's ready to go, and I'm going to find a bed, right? That was that approach. None of the other stuff doesn't matter. I'm going to focus on your strength. Your strength today is you want a bed. My assistance to you today is getting you that bed. So that's what we're focused on, right? We move along to strength assessments or systematic assessments of strengths. What is going on there? When you're doing a strength assessment, you can make a worksheet, presentation, anything, questionnaire on strength-based questions. There's plenty of materials out there. But if your strength assessment is not focused on the individual, you're not going to get the information that you want, right? That's when it comes to when you're looking at the strength assessment. You're not looking at whether or not they used, and again, this is looking at it from a substance use point, if they used last night or if they used the weekend before, right? A strength-based approach is that that person is still coming to see you, right? They're still engaging. They are still aware that you are there to provide them assistance and support. In a world that is chaotic in a sense, but they have stability to keep coming to see you. That's that support. That's that strength base you could build upon. The fact that you keep coming, meaning that you have some investment in this. So let me help you maintain that investment, right? Same as like if you have real estate on your own or any type of investment on your own. You're going to manage it and protect it and do whatever you need to do to maintain it. That's the same when we're looking at clients and we're working on them from a strength-based approach. If I look at all your past mistakes, I will have bias towards you because I would think, oh, you're just going to do this again. Instead of looking at, okay, you had some challenges. We all did in life. I had a bunch of them myself. Let's look at that. Where are you at today on Tuesday? And what do you want to do? I'm not worried about your 6 rehabs. I'm not worried about if you've been to every provider in the area, right? I'm not worried about any of that. I'm worried about what do you want to do today? And then we'll move forward in your care. The environment is a rich resource or resources in the environment. When we look at the environment of where our clients are at or yourselves, right, that plays a major part in treatment and care and recovery, whether it's from MH or substance use approach. If I lived in an apartment with 6 men, 1 bathroom, would I be upset? Think about yourself. If you lived in a place and think about your own personal interests, likes, dislikes. If you lived in a place where there was 6 or 7 individuals, 1 bathroom, would you like it? Think about that, right? Although it might be safe and secured and needed at the time, but that's the environment some of our clients live in if you're looking at a substance use approach. And not all, because they come from different economic levels, different diversities, right? Inclusion is about everybody, regardless of race and ethnicity, right? That's what inclusion is about. And diversity. You want to make sure that everything is diverse, yes, but you want to make sure that there's resources out there. So I'm going to provide this same strength-based care and approach to somebody who might come to me in the private practice I work with for counseling that might be a doctor. I'm going to do the same approach with him as I do with somebody that's unemployed and don't have anything, right? Don't have anything in the sense of they're rebuilding, what I should say. Two individuals, two different types of cares, but the approach can still work if you use them for the individual itself and focus on that. Explicit methods are used for the development of the individual and environment strengths towards goal attainment or different approaches for different situations. We're different, right? We're different. I enjoy my acts of service when I work in the substance abuse or mental health fields, but I also enjoy writing scripts. I also enjoy performing. And I also enjoy when my work is recognized, right? So think about that. Two clients are not the same. How many of you ever ran groups or are a group counselor now? Excuse me. Ooh, that water went down the wrong pipe. When you're running a group, you have 5, 6, 7, 10, 12 individuals in a group. You have a topic. You have 12 different personalities, 12 different voices, right? Some on target, some not on target, right? Some you know that's just there just to be there, some that's really engaged, right? So as a group counselor, that's you dealing with all of that within that span of that hour and a half you're running your group. You also got to take into consideration the individuals themselves in the group, right? Because your task is to provide that resource or that education, in a sense, but you also got to look at individually what they're getting as well, not just in a group format. I might not talk to you individually the same as I would talk to him after group if he needs something different. So I like that example with using a group for this one because different people deserves different things and different needs. And once you start to identify that, you're able to help them strengthen that need, that skill, right? I always tell my clients, I say, what are you going to do when I'm not here? Because I don't plan to be in your life forever. You don't want me in your life forever, right? If I say that to a particular client, they're going to say yes, but you got to think about that, right? If I'm a vessel for you to learn through, then learn. But if I'm a teacher, I need to know how or which method helps you learn better. Some are auditory, some are visual, some are both. Some are neither, believe it or not. There's a population for that too. But this is where that detective work comes in a sense, to where you have to really look at that client coming into your office or space or your community and say, what do you actually really need? And sometimes it's not even laid out on the surface. Oh, I might need housing. Okay. Can you maintain it? If you go to New Bethany, wonderful organization, I work with New Bethany and Conference of Churches, you go there, you get your funding, great. Can you maintain it afterwards? Have you held a job longer than a year? What type of resources you need to keep that apartment, right? Because we all need an apartment. I mean, I want a place to live. We all want a place to live. And those that's unsheltered in that particular situation, that's even a harder challenge. How are you going to work and build up the strength with somebody who lifestyle or loves to sleep outside? How are you going to do that? Right? What methods or theories can you use to combine that to work through it? Right? You may have to play on their strengths to kind of let them see that they want a different lifestyle, not you. just food for thought. A relationship that is hope-orientated or hope-inducing relationships. This one is one of my favorites because, okay, don't call me a nerd, but I am a big Star Wars fan, okay? Like a big one. I watch everything. I can watch a series literally the one week, and the next week I watch it over. My partner be like, turn it off. I'm like, no, this is the good part. Didn't you see this like 20 times? Yeah, but I gotta see it again. But it brings me hope, the message in it. And to me, as a writer and a producer, where I produce stuff out here locally, words on the paper means a lot to me. So the idea of hope, right? That idea of hope is so powerful to have. And to build within clients that idea of hope, you can be sober. And this, again, talk up from a substance use perspective. You can be sober. At Maine's perspective, you can be stable the way that you want to be stable in your life. Not me, you, right? The individual has autonomy to choose. Choice is everything. I know when I go into the store, if I want a pack of M&M peanuts or Swedish fish, right? That's a choice. Both my favorites, but if it's that day I want Swedish fish, I'm gonna get Swedish fish. But the power of choice, the simplest thing like that, simplest thing of a power of choice, right? I'll tell you another story. I grew up in New York, and I've been coming to Pennsylvania for years. We have family out here, so I've always been out here in Lancaster. And when I was in middle school, I should say, so this was, oh my God, this was a very long time ago. I was in 7th grade, and our class awards, like every year the class would, you're in your classroom and you vote for the kids in your class for a certain topic, for a certain category or title. So my class, I was voted in, was totally shocked to me. I remember it because I used this a lot, this story. And I was voted for everybody's pal in my 704 class. And I sat there, I remember at the time I said, everybody's pal. I was thinking about it. I thought about it like last year again. I was thinking about it, I was like, everybody pal, okay. So I literally, in middle school and in high school, was a popular kid, but I had friends with I was friends with everybody. So every category that you could think of in high school or middle school that your school labeled the groups as, I knew either one or two or all in everybody's, in every group. So I would go talk with them. Hey, how are you? That was me, right? Hi. What's up? This is on Mike. Oh, yeah, okay, come on, let's hang out. I didn't care, I didn't think about it. Until last year, I put it all in perspective, and I was like, wow, Mike, maybe this was predestined for me, in a sense of, if I'm voted everybody's pal, I looked at it in a deeper end. I said, that means I understood people's strengths. I encouraged them. It was a diverse school. So I met a lot of different individuals, right? I must have catered to some of their needs, because if the whole class voted me everybody's pal, that means I catered to every individual in that class need. So when I look at strength-based, I look at it like, wow, okay, I was practicing since 7th grade and didn't even realize that. But it was the same approach to where I did not have any bias or judgment towards people. I accepted individuals. And I was a curious kid anyway. So if I'm sitting there and I want to learn what a group of students want to learn, I'm going to go and ask a question. So for me, being friends with everybody wasn't a really big thing to me, because I looked at it as, why? I want to know everybody. If somebody wants to know me, I want to know them. Right? And that was that approach, even in middle school, when you look at it, right? All right, who's up for reading? We're going to use Mr. Berry Books as an example through this. Anybody up for reading? Going once? Ding. All right, everybody got an understanding of Mr. Barry Books? Okay, so we're gonna use Mr. Barry Books as an example as we go through these strength-based approaches and have a group discussion. Client-centered or goal orientation, right? Assisting clients in setting goals is a vital aspect of a successful strength-based approach. The goal setting process is always centered on the individual and led by the client in a strength-based approach. The most critical factors in this approach is the attainment of the client's set goals, where individuals are encouraged to identify the goals they want to achieve, right? Shout me out some goals you heard from clients. I want to go to school. I'll start. Who else? Housing. What else? Transportation, driver's license. What else? Family back, child care, right? Dealing with the courts. Community integration, jobs, right? Oh, that's a good one. Harm reduction, right? Good one. Think about all these goals, and they're all attainable, right? All attainable. How many of you had clients or worked with participants to where a goal like that took a longer time to attain? Right? Think about that. Client comes to you, or you say to them, oh, you need your ID? Yeah, we need an ID. Okay. What happens next usually after that? Oh, are you going to give me the information? It puts right back on you, right? Puts it right back on you. But if you're looking at it from a strength-based approach, okay, you need your driver's license? Yeah, what do you need? Oh, the photo ID, because I moved and everything. Okay, great, let's look at that. Well, the motor vehicles department or PennDOT, it's over there in Allentown. Want to use it? Okay, when you want to go? Oh, I don't know, you need this? Okay, well, let me look it up for you. This is the information that you need. You think you'll be able to obtain that? Yeah, I could get that. All right, cool, let's do that. All right, great, let's meet back up. Let's set up another meeting, and if you have everything you bring, we'll work it out, we'll complete the application together. Cool. Now I changed it into me doing 95% of the work to where now we're together doing the work. That's where our field is going. You see it, you guys work it. That's where it's going. Client-led, right? To where we have to strengthen that strength that's hidden underneath to say that, yes, you can do it. And again, it brings me back to Star Wars. Hope, right? Hope that they could believe it. The environment is, sorry. There we go. Strength assessment or systematic assessment of strengths. Clients should identify and assess their inherited strengths as well as their internal and external resources available to them. Instead of focusing on deficits and problems, the emphasis should be on recognizing and acknowledging the individual strengths. The primary focus should be on what is already effective and present in the individual's ability. Don't get me wrong, there's always a pro and there's always a con, right? Strength-based approach does work, and at sometimes it does not, right? That's the reality. When it does not work, that means that the way I look at it, a client identify a weakness, and the weakness sometimes takes over and doesn't allow them to show their strengths because they're focusing more on the no's that they got, the disappointments that happen in their lives, the circle, the recidivism, right? You're looking at all these different things, but not looking at the fact that, hey, wait a minute, but you're still here today in my office. You're still going through that fight. That means you got more strength than you realize. So use that to channel and move forward in your life. When you think about that in that aspect. How many of you was told something good that led you to the path that you're on now? Think about that. Everybody's in this room because they either work or are part of some form of mental health, substance use, physical health, medical agency, or currently walking in a life of somebody living with mental health or chronic pain or even substance use problems. So we all have those similarities just sitting in this room, just being at this conference today. That's our similarities. That's our strengths. is that we're here to learn, network, connect, look at different perspectives, formulate our different plans, and go back to our practices and make them happen, right? So we all have that similarity and that commonality, just being here in the room, is that we are looking for ways to improve our own knowledge to move our clients forward and yourselves, and put yourself in there, right? The environment is a rich resource or resources in the environment. When you're looking at the environment, you're looking at not just the physical address, right? And I know all of you probably had this experience if you work with the clients. They look for housing, you're doing your assessments, so biopsychosocials, you're getting their names, who you live with, where you live at, how many people in the place, right? Is it food? Is it safe? You're doing all that other stuff, right? But in this environment, look deeper. What is it that the client may not be saying? Are they safe? Are they comfortable? Do they want to move on? Do they want to live, or stay there? Or do they want to eventually find their own place? I was the first one to move out of my mother's house, believe it or not. I was the fifth. It was four of us, and then my mother had my little brother, Charles, and me and Charles is about 15-year distance. I'm 46. So I was the baby for a very long time. When I was the first one that moved out, because I went to college, moved out, I was running out the house. When I mean moved out, I was running. As soon as I knew my date I was going to college, my bags was packed like 3 months beforehand. My mom was looking at me like, you packed? I was like, that's all going, that's going away, I'm donating that. I was ready to go. At that moment, I thought I was independent. I wanted to be on my own. I wanted to explore the world. And I did, right? But what that taught me is that not the fact of moving out of residence. It wasn't that I lived in a bad environment. We lived in a house in the Bronx. My grandmother had a house across the street. My aunt has a house right there. So I grew up around family. And in the city when I grow up, even your neighbors, you consider them family. You've been around each other for very long. So it wasn't like I was in a bad area or a bad spot. I just knew my wings was ready to stretch and fly. And my strengths at that time was my motivation. And I didn't realize that until I was in my late 20s when one of my clinical supervisors, my mentor, he sat me down in the office one day and said, your environment is going to help you determine how your career is going to go. I didn't know what that man was talking about when he said that to me. I honestly did not. And it broke it down to me again, and he said, it's like a funnel. Like a funnel comes down like that. He said, you're going to want to play Superman now, but you're going to find out what you really want to do in this career as you go down. And I can honestly say that guy was right. I look back at it 15 years later, I was like, wow. He called my whole career. Like he knew the steps. And that's a mentor, for me at least, I value and I treasure his advice and guidance, right? That's one of my mentors I like. So when you look at your environment, what is around them? You could be living in a house to where everybody's supportive, everybody wants to do good with everybody, but then you can also live in a house to where people don't talk. You're on your phone at the dinner table. You're in the living room watching TV on your phone. You're in the bathroom washing your face on your phone. Right? Like it's everything with your phone. Right? You're connected. But then are you being connected to the things that you need to improve your life? Like there's a lot of different perspectives, a lot of different ways you're going to go around it. But are you doing those things? Another method, right? Explicit methods are used for the development of the individuals and the environment's strengths towards goal attainment or different approaches for different situations, right? If I'm using CBT, so I work at Mars, I also do my creative stuff, but I also work for a private practice and I have private clients under that private practice. And the approaches would be different, right? So if I'm working with a client that's coming in with an issue, and the intervention I'm using is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, as the primary focus framework, but what if that client's coming in with something more, right? And that's the time when you sit there and you learn that environment, or you learn the things that your clients need, right? In order to provide that support and guidance that they would need. So when you look at this one, like how I look at this one, some start with goal setting and then proceed to identify identity, strengths. Another approach involves using a strength assessment to identify goals. Strength and goals are separate, right? A client goal could be, I want to get my GED. Great. Now let's look at your strengths. The weakness is, well, I dropped out of school in the 8th grade. I don't know how to read that well. I don't know what to do, but I want my GED. So you're starting with that client where they're at. Are you going to put that client in a GED prep class? Maybe not. You may be starting to look for a basic class, a pre-GED class, right? Because before anybody that I know that done that or worked with people that done the GED, you got to be on a certain grade level. So I would be setting my client up for failure if a client walked into my office saying he wanted GED and I found the back history that they lack certain fundamental skills, but I put them in a GED program, a competitive one, and the client drops out, and then I'm wondering, why do you leave? You say you wanted this. I didn't do my due diligence, right? I didn't do my due diligence. Because to me, I just looked at, oh, you want to go GED? Oh, great, I know this resource. I know the guy over there. I could call him right now and get you into the class. Great, boom, problem solved. Now the client's in class and don't understand the reading, probably not on math level. Now feel embarrassed and shamed. They drop out, come back to you. You're thinking they did it because they didn't want it, but it wasn't broken down to the way that it'll make them successful and build upon their strengths. It put that person right back in a weakness spot. I don't know about you, but if I was in a room of this size and I wasn't able to read, I would be scared looking on that projector. So imagine somebody in a GED space when we're not really doing our due diligence and looking at their strengths and really identifying with the client what they want and what's really going on, breaking that down. I like breaking things down in smaller pieces. Helps me focus, but it also helps the client attain what they really want to do. And then that's the way they maintain it through their life, is that if I give, it's not going to work. But if they learn how to do it, they're able to live a productive life because they know how to do it on their own. So when you think about working with those clients, think about it in a sense of, what is it that they really want to do? And if they want to get housing, GED, whatever, right? What is that do you really want to do? How can I look at this with a third lens? And let me break that down a little bit better for you. You want housing. Okay. You don't have a job, so let's start there first. Because if you get housing, how are you going to maintain? And even better, you might not have the income. So why am I looking for you with housing to where you have to pay utilities and all that stuff when you could be looking for housing that includes it? Right? Different approach, different things. A relationship that is hope-oriented or hope-inducing relationships. Again, clients gain hope that they can achieve their goals and improve their lives by identifying strengths and establishing connection with others. I don't know about you, but I love it when any of my clients that come and say, hey, I went to that event on Change on Hamilton, I really enjoyed it. Oh, hey, I went to the Steel Stacks and I really enjoyed it. Right? Or I came to the rally and I really enjoyed it. Right? And not just as a sober activity, but just the fact that you're getting out and you're looking at it in a different lens again. Right? That is hope. Right? If somebody comes and say, I want to live a different life today, I don't know how to do that. Okay, well, what does that life look like to you? Let's start there. And then working around that. Because that's what you're going to pull out your strengths. You're going to pull out your weaknesses, and you're going to pull out ways to get from your problem to your solution. Autonomy to choose, right? The individual has the autonomy to choose. Social workers, case managers, CRSs, direct care staff, clinicians can empower clients by treating them as experts of their own lives. I don't know about you. I'm a Cancer male, so I could be sensitive at times. And I don't like, one of the things I learned very early on is that I like choice. And I don't like when somebody gives me a standard, you don't have a choice, right? Because I learned through my years, through people I encountered, just living life, right? Just lifing, that choice is such a beautiful thing that I would not want to go without it, right? So that helps. So when you think about it, when you meet with your clients or yourselves, right? Strength-based approaches could be applied to you as well, personally. When you look at that and you look at the autonomy, are you choosing the things for yourself right now in life? Or you're just doing them? Are you happy in the choice that you're making in your life? Or are you just sustaining it? Right? That's where those strengths-based approaches come from. When we look at them, we're identifying the skills and the talents within yourselves and well as with clients as well too. So what is it? Are you doing what's moved you right now? Are you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Right? Choice. Power of choice. I'm sure if everybody won $1 billion right now, you probably won't be in this room. But if you choose to be in this room, you're still a powerful force. Right? And that's the power of choice. All right, therapeutic interventions. When we look at the strength-based approach, solution-focused therapy is always a must, right? It goes hand in hand when you look at the different principles and the practices of social work, the 6 traits of a strength-based approach, But when you're looking at it from a therapeutic intervention, how do you apply it now? Right? How do you apply it? They have a format, so to say, that says CPR. Competence, capacities, and courage. Promise, possibilities, and positive expectations. Resilience, reserves, and resources. We are in a place in life, I should say, to where the internet is like one of the best tools used, right? It's your go-to. It's your yellow book of today, pretty much. If any of you guys remember the yellow book that everybody used to get to the house, that's where you find everybody's numbers, the businesses, everything. That was your internet, right? I know that was mine for a very long time. We used to love getting yellow books. It was something to be expected, right, when you get them. When we don't, nobody, do they even still do that? I don't even know any companies that do that anymore. But think about that. That's the internet, pretty much. We can go onto the internet and find out anything, right? But how can we use the internet as a great resource for our clients? When we're looking at that, what is the things that you guys need to live? What is the thing that you want to do, right? It's hard to choose something you want to do when you've always been told no, or you always looked at the bad compared to the good, or even vice versa. I have a lot of people that does good, but for some reason end up doing bad. And I think it's just at different stages of people's lives, right? When I'm in my 20s, I definitely know now, being 46, I definitely know now, my 40s, I definitely needed something in my 20s, right? And what I mean by that sense is my 20s is different, but what I need in my 40s is going to be totally different for me than when I was in my 20s, right? We adjust, we flow. I know I don't look 46, but I keep telling people I'm 28, so we're going to go with 28 today. But it flows, right? And when you think about that strength, that is the strength of the me that I keep going, right? Or that strength to when somebody say thank you. And you're like, for what? You helped me in my life and you don't even know how. You helped me. How many people ever had clients come up to them after they'd seen them and say, you did me a great service. Look at the hands. Look around the room. Look around the room, right? We are a part of people's lives. People remember us. So why not build their strengths? For that way they can move forward in life. Same way they're going to want you to move forward in life. And you look at your strengths. Cognitive behavioral therapy, we practice that. I'm not going to go too much into the whole framework of it all, right? We look at, in CBT, problems are broken down to 5 main areas, right? Situations, thoughts, emotions, feelings, and actions. Physical feelings and actions. We're focused on the present, right? When I worked as a behavior specialist, there's a lot of science, a lot of involved as far as understanding behaviors, understanding the who, what, when, why, understanding the consequence, understanding how to label it, understanding how to track it, understanding how to graph it, right? All these stuff that you do with behaviors is that. But when you look at strengths-based approach, yes, it's solution-focused, heavy, yes. But CBT plays a part in that too, right? CBT and solution-focused therapy. But I had something up here also. It's very interesting. If you ever explored with exposure therapy, or ever practiced that, that's another way that can be used in strengths-based approaches as well too. Because you're looking at it in a sense of, what is the fear with some of our clients, or with people in general, that wants to move forward and need to develop skills to maintain a life? What are the fears? You know, one of my fears, I can honestly say, and this is true story, I can honestly say one of my fears always been homelessness. Always been, right? And just seeing it, because I work in a place to where I go, yesterday I met somebody in the front of a liquor store, they was playing guitar, trying to get money, and I'm sitting there doing a county packet with them. People was walking by us thinking I was, they gave them $1. I'm sitting up, hey, you got the documentation? Well, another person walked past us, like, oh, are you an outreach person? I didn't confirm that. I'm with the client, right? I don't want to embarrass him.
There are extra lunch tickets available at the registration table if you did not already get them at your registration. So there are extra lunch tickets available at the registration table. Thank you.
Well, that's good to know. But in that story alone, you look at it like exposure therapy. You think about the fears a person have. Some people are fear of being successful, right? Fear of being stable, believe it or not. Fear of having a healthy relationship. And what does that actually mean? Right? Some people have fears of losing jobs. Some people have fears to go to work. So when you're looking at it from perspective from exposure therapy, you're looking at what is their fears, what are their phobias, right? And how can I look at that to build a strength-based approach with them? Because I'm going to have to expose you to something in order for you to get over it. If I said I'm scared to get a job because my background, I have 5 felonies and nobody won't hire me, the client comes to you, you're sitting up there in your head like, oh, I don't know nobody who's going to hire him with 5 felonies on his background. But maybe I can start to learn a different way approach for him. Maybe instead of the traditional works, maybe we need to explore whether or not you're interested in going into job training programs. Or maybe we need to look at whether or not we need to get a second chance employer, right? You're offering them choice, but also you're exposing them to the fact that, hey, it's not impossible that you can find stability again just because you have an extensive long criminal history, right? Which is a big barrier for some clients that come in and looking for support, right? I work with adolescents as well too, and I had a young adolescent that was 16 years old, dropped out of high school, but he was already selling drugs, and he was already profitable in that business at 16. 16. Very, very headstrong. I mean, I met with him so many times to where I thought like you were sitting there talking to an adult. We didn't even think he was 16. But there was one thing that I noticed that he kept with him. Regardless, I didn't support his lifestyle. Hey, you do it, that's your choice. When you feel like you're ready to stop, you do, right? No judgment here. But one thing I loved about him is that his tenacity and his strengths that he kept with him, those was talents, those were skills. Even though he's using them for the wrong market, those were still skills that he was building himself on. So our conversations used to always go around, what is your next step? Because right now, I'm not going to convince him to stop selling drugs. I'm not. I know that reality as a therapist. I could sit there and sugarcoat it, go around it, yeah. Or I could sit there and reality-based and say, okay, you're choosing this. Okay. What is your next step? What is after this? What do you want to do with your life? And that's where we get the focus and the strength-based approach to where you work with individuals. When you're thinking about community resources, right, the standards, housing, supportive services, churches, support groups, education programs, healthcare clinics. So I put this intentionally in this circle like this, from the 1, 2, 3, and 4. The reason why is more in the sense of when we're thinking about strength-based approach work with clients, it can go crisscross, round and round, backwards and forward, right? What a client needs today might not be something he needs next month or she needs next month, right? Somebody might need a housing application today. They get the housing, but then they need furniture, right? Or they have to go to the county office to apply for benefits. They got to submit paperwork, right? There's a lot of different entities that provide services. A lot of vendors here and exhibitors here. There's a lot of community providers that we all probably shared resources with, right? Those are your strengths. Those are the community strengths. But accessing it and maintaining it comes with teaching and learning strengths for your client-based approaches. If I am teaching you how to identify the strength within yourself, you'll be able to prepare yourself to maintain the life that you want to live. But if I just give you everything, I'm not really helping you. Because there's going to be that time to where I'm not going to be there, or you're not going to be there, and the client's going to have to navigate the resources in the community. So as all educators and advocates and mentors in our field, our duty is to serve, and that's part of a service, right? It's preparing clients for the next steps. What is your next steps? Because if you're already in their reality, in the base, and they're working towards something or not working towards something, you already know. So what's the next step? How are we going to access the community resources? How are you going to maintain them? New Bethany's not going to give me no more money because I ran through it 3 times already this year, okay? So that means maybe you're not ready for housing than you think you are. So let's explore that, right? So, remember Mr. Berry Books. What resources would you recommend to Berry? You're on the spot now. You're the clinician. What resources would you recommend? What's some problems that you see that's happening with Mr. Berry Books? Good, right? Because it never really mentioned how he actually dealt with the divorce, right? So, yeah, that might be a problem, right? Absolutely. What else? What else you see? Single dad, right? Single dad. Family lives in New Jersey. He lives in Philadelphia. He's going to be looking for support, right? Connecting him to parent groups, right? Even support groups can help him out. But when we're looking at clients, even with whatever history they come in with, there is a potential for a problem. But then there's also a solution to it if we really dig deep and look at it, right? So good stuff there with Mr. Berry Books. Just to wrap it up, believe in the power of community. What community means to me might be different what it means to you, but it's still community, right? When I was growing up, my community was my family and friends, right? Because I was around them the most. as I became into my adult years, my family and friends are my community, but then my coworkers are, my associates I meet, right? The business connections I meet, those are all my community. So when you look at community, it's not just your area. You look at the people in your lives that are community to you, right? So that's to wrap it up for me. But I guess we can leave it on there. Again, when we look at strength-based approaches, look at it from a solution-focused approach, but also look at it as a detective to kind of say, like, hey, let's explore this and let's break it down a little bit more. Because I want you to be able to do it this once and maintain it. In case you need to do it again and I'm not here, you can do it. Because that's my job to prepare you. Thank you so much, and I appreciate your time. Enjoy lunch.